afternoon. I am Tony Tino. I am the founder of the USA Memory Championship, and I do a 5-day-a-week Live with Tony broadcast. And today's broadcast is all about something I've read over the last few days in the Psychology Today issue of October of this year. And I just found it fascinating. It fits in with some of the material that we have on the Maximum Memory Mastery online workshop or training material. And this article is particularly interested in design for success and covers one of my favorite topics, which is this notion of resilience, and who are people that are resilient, and what are the characteristics of people that are able to overcome challenges and things in their life that may not always go smoothly. And I just found this fascinating to understand some of the elements that this writer has picked up and defined in the world of resilience, which is how do people get back up when they get knocked down? And as they say, dust off themselves. I've written about it in 2 of the books I've co-authored, and it's always been fascinating is how do people, what are the characteristics of people? How do they talk to themselves? How do they get themselves to get back up, dust off their backside, and go at it again? So I have found this particular article really dive into resilience as well as any article I've ever read on the topic. So I want to start by making sure we all agree on resilience is the process or the capacity of adapting to challenging and threatening circumstances. So we're able to take threatening circumstances or challenging circumstances, and some people just kind of get crunched under the weight of it, and others have a resilience where they're able to rise above it and deal with it in a more positive way and get, obviously, different outcomes. So what I was asking yesterday is, so what are some of the characteristics that people have defined in resilience? And now one may say, and what does this have to do with memory? Because I'm working on an online course, Maximum Memory Mastery, and obviously one of the things that we have to recognize is how does resilience, how does memory, how does stress, how do challenges impact us in our day-to-day lives? And so all of this has to come together, and as it comes together, it fits into our maximum memory mastery, of which we are looking to identify it as brain power, meaning how do we build mental fitness and cognitive functions that in some people allow us to overcome and solve problems, and others just feel the weight of it and it just burdens them in such a way that it inhibits what their abilities are. So in yesterday's broadcast, I talked about the essence of problem solving and how we go about building social interaction, which again is one of our features in our Maximum Memory workshop, which is all about how do you build strong social connection. And what this article goes on to define is that human beings are social animals. We survive and thrive in coordinated groups and being part of a team or part of a social network. So that was yesterday's. Now, another potent predictor, so now today, let's get to the next predictor, is the psychological flexibility, the ability to persist or change behaviors in a setting that influences, that's guided by goals. So now what does that mean? In both of my books, The Brain Smart Leader and Grassroots Leaders, I talk about the importance of setting goals. And we've defined that in the book as being what is our life's definition of success. So how do we define what success looks like to our brain? And that comes in 3 pieces. We define success in our lives in terms of what are our objectives, what's our purpose, what are we passionate about. So one part of our brain that we need to define that sets goals, that brings resilience and tenacity to us, is how do we define our S from an emotional point of view where we are passionate, enthused, and excited about achieving a particular outcome, which we're defining as S. but it also must appeal to what we call our cortex, or our common sense part of our brain, our rational brain. So whatever it is that we're setting out to embark on and what we're working to achieve, it has to also appeal to what we think is rational and logical, sensible. So now we have our emotional brain, which is the fuel that engages the rational common sense brain, which is the logic and the rationale, coming together, that then needs to look at the third piece, which is our memories, and what are we carrying forward from prior life experiences or from people around us in terms of family, friends, our network of team members that give us life's experiences and life's histories that enable us to adapt and move above whatever these challenges are that we're facing. When we have those together and we're passionate, we see sensibility, and we understand that history will teach us something that we can use to learn from, then what our brain is able to do is bounce up when we meet challenges, find the solutions to those challenges, or work with team members to come up with different pathways to those solutions. So when we talk about the psychological impact of having clearly defined goals that are guided and dependent upon situations that we are confronted with, then our brain will look at its infinite creativity, bounce off of our life experience, our memories, and move forward in a creative process. So one of the tools that are in the Maximum Memory class that we teach is mind mapping, and it's something that was created many years ago, and I just find that it's just not taught enough and utilized in a way that really helps us to lay out the issues, the challenges, the problems in front of us, so that it ignites our brain into being resilient and getting up, and I'm saying dust our backside off and go at it to figure out what the solutions are. And living here in Windermere, Florida, and having a view of the Atlantic in Cape Canaveral, it always amazes me how the men and women that take these rockets that shoot up into the sky, that detach now and land on barges or in land, how these people are able to figure out how to do those things. What is going on up in here in their minds that help them to engineer the feats that are just mind-blowing to people? You know, people that go to the Cape and they go sit on the Cocoa Beach and they watch these rockets go up, or as we watch them from our front street here, watch these rockets go up and then detach and then land. Well, do we have clearly defined goals? Do we have goals that are clearly defined, that we have passion for, that keeps our resilience working towards what we need to achieve, and minimizes the situations at hand from taking us backwards and not dealing with what's in front of us? So what we talk about, it's mental agility and adaptability and the flexibility that we need for mental health. And that flexibility is, how do we deal with the stress in our life? How do we deal with the challenges? How do we take a positive attitude towards things that are not always going in the direction that we'd like to take them to, and get back up and be resilient? So one of the things that I tell people when they hit these bumps, let's go back and relook at the passion, the energy, the enthusiasm you have for achieving a particular set of outcomes or goals. So the article talks about, do we have clearly defined goals that keep us focused and directed towards some end result? And do we think those goals are sensible? Do we need to do some more internet research? Do we need to talk to some other people about any ideas or issues they have? Can we talk to other people in our social network groups? So now it's a matter of, can we talk to other people and say, do you have any ideas on how I can overcome these obstacles? And it's amazing when you have your social support works and your team, social support network and your team members about you, how somebody will always come up with a different idea. A week or so ago, I did a broadcast on people with diverse backgrounds working together that never knew one another. Very often will create better outcomes and solutions to problems and challenges than people who knew one another and all kind of stay in the same pattern of thinking. And so with those clearly defined goals, our history book, let's go at it and let's try again. And the important thing to that is, as we go through the next attempts, or we call them sometimes the next trials, try all things to reach to what we call our goals and clearly defined. What are we using for our metrics and our objectivity to give us feedback that allow us to track progress? So the last piece of this for today is, so what do we use as our feedback systems that alert us to, are we on the right trail? Are we moving in the right direction? Or are we getting feedback that alerts us that maybe we're a little bit off kilter and we need to make adjustments? And back to our team and back to our trials, and let's try something that may require just a little bit of a tweak. I am finding this article to be really insightful, and it matches a lot of the work that we've been doing, that I've written about or researched in the past, but well written to the point where it really gives us a bit of a cookbook or a menu list of what are some of the things that people can do to be more resilient. And there is no better time than what we're dealing with in COVID-19 as a way of learning what are some of the things that we can do to make sure that we're moving to the other side of COVID-19 as the numbers appear to be getting better and vaccines are being worked on. How do we all get to the other side of this? All right, today is Thursday. This is my 3 o'clock Thursday afternoon broadcast. I am back on Saturday afternoon. Friday I usually take off. We're re-looking at possibly doing more on YouTube and a longer broadcast on YouTube and maybe one less broadcast on Facebook, but not decided. So at this point, those are some of the thoughts I'll share with my Live with Tony audience, and we shall see you again on Saturday. You have a good Friday, and be safe and smart, and use what we've got up here to figure out what are some of the things that you can accomplish in your life that possibly you never thought possible, even during difficult and challenging times. If anyone wants to send me notes, I love the notes and notifications I get. It's adottino@aol.com. It's adottino@aol.com. I'd be delighted to respond and communicate with you. If it makes a difference, it makes life a little bit easier and takes off a little bit of stress from your shoulders.